Well, hello, folks. I'm not an expert at marketing and things, although I've done some decent amount of research and stuff when I published my book. And I've done, for an independent book, okay, I've sold and or gotten downloads of over like about 430 copies. So not a huge, it's no bestseller, but I have done some things that worked and some things that haven't. And I just thought I'd share my experience with folks. But I'd like this to be an interactive session. So if I'm going along and you have a question or a comment or some other ideas, jump in and let me know. I'll try to keep an eye out to see if there's things in the chat. And if I don't see it, if maybe Fritz or someone can speak up but again, this is supposed to be an interactive session, so feel free to interrupt me at any point. So my book was Plastivore. It's a science fiction novel.
I know.
Was there a question?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So it is a KDP, Amazon KDP book, and so most of what I've done has been related to Amazon, and that's where I'll spend most of this presentation. But I will go over some of the other things that I've done. And again, not everything has worked. And if you've got other strategies, please share them with me. But we'll go over Amazon strategies and some of the others. And for the Amazon stuff, I will actually show you some of how we do this. And it's not, I'm assuming here you've already got your book published on KDP. So there's things like the book details and some of the stuff I'm not going to go over in great detail, but I will go over some of the marketing and what some of these different pieces of it mean. So I think if you've done one, you probably are familiar with this page where you've got your book thing, your bookshelf, and you set up your book. So I'm going to go through a little bit on some of the things with the book setup, which would be over here where you'd say edit book details and things you could do with price and promotions, details, and so on. So let me just bring up the actual page. So this is my book, and I have a Kindle version and I have a paperback version. I'm just going to go through one of these and say edit book details. So as we come in here, again, this is assuming you've already got your book set up. So the book title, if there's a subtitle, if it's part of a series, first edition, the author, any additional authors. The description here is just sort of that base information that would appear next to the book in Amazon. I'm not going to go over that one in detail. I'd love to have a conversation sometime of what's the things that type of thing to put in there that would make it, pop a little more. But that's not what I'm going over right now. The basic things, you have the publishing rights, who the audience is. One of the things with the audience, when I first published this book, I said it has some adult language. And so I said, oh, the minimum age, I said, it's 18 plus. When you say the minimum age is 18 plus, Amazon assumes it's got sexually explicit material and it won't let you do some of the advertisements and things. So make your minimum less than 18, unless it is sexually explicit, then go for it. But there's some things that Amazon won't let you do if it's considered an adult book. And I didn't learn that at first, so I had to swap that back. Primary marketplace is probably going to be Amazon.com unless you live one of these other places, or maybe if you're writing in a different language and you want to make, Spain or France your primary marketplace. Okay, then there's your categories. Again, this is just general high-level category, what genre and things your book is about or would fall in. And then keywords. So these ones you have to pick from specific ones that Amazon selected. So you can go and figure out which ones those actually make sense for yours. Keywords, though, when I first put it in, I just put in like 7 words because you had 7 keywords. And then I did some looking at it, and you can overstack those keywords. So you have up to 50 characters, so you can go through it and put in up to, several words, and all those will be used when Amazon when someone's doing a search to make it more likely that they'll find your book. And I apologize for the phone ringing in the background. It's probably a spam call. So when you're doing your keywords, do multiple keywords. The other thing to be aware of is if you have a paperback book and a Kindle book and maybe a hardback book, you can put different keywords in each one of those. And so you'll get more chances for people to find your book, more different things that they would search on. So that's another little trick you can do as you're going along.
Matt,
I have a question.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the keywords that you apply to either publication will work for both?
Well, if you are familiar with Amazon, which I think most of us are, where's my... So for example, in this, my Amazon, this right now is pointed at the Kindle book, but it's also linked to the paperback book. So it'll find both of those when it finds either of them. It'll just be which one of these it makes primary when it finishes that search.
and Matt, does that mean that if you put in keywords for, say, Kindle, that it will transpose over to the paperback and the hard book, the same thing? Or can you put different keywords in for Kindle, for paperback, for hard cover?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is you can put in different keywords in each one of those. And if I searched and it was only on the Kindle, I would find this page with Kindle highlighted. And if it was only in the paperback, I might find this page where the paperback was highlighted. But it will show you'll still have the option to buy either one.
Good idea.
Yeah,
Any other questions?
so you have more words to use.
Right. And those ones, it doesn't cost anything if Amazon finds those search keys. When we get to the ads, that's where you're paying something for them to search on those. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Okay, then continuing the setup, the content, this is the actual manuscript and stuff. Again, I'm assuming you've already done that. Your cover answered the questions. ISBN versus ASIN. ISBN is an international number. You have to purchase those externally from Amazon if you want those. And then you can, if you have them purchased, you can use them here. I'm cheap, so I just use the free one with the ASIN that Amazon will assign automatically. But that is something to consider of what you want. I've heard with an ISBN, it makes it a little easier to sell outside than other places, but I haven't gone there. Again, this is my idea, my experience. So if you have other experience, feel free to jump in. But I've never paid for an ISBN, at least so far. Where do you want to sell it? May as well do it everywhere unless there's some reason not to. I'll come back to this pricing in just a second. Okay, so we talked about the title and the description and then the categories and keywords. Price and promotions. Let me see, was there anything else on there? Oh yeah, and that if you have multiple versions, you can use different version keywords on some of these to get a little extra exposure. Pricing. This is the Kindle pricing. You have an option of a 35% royalty or a 70% royalty, which is of the purchase price, how much do you get? So why would you ever do 35% if they give you twice that? And the main difference is if I go 70%, I have to sell it for at least this one for at least $3 or $2.99. Whereas if I go 35%, I can go less than that. When I first published my book, I was selling the Kindle for $4.99, and I did it at the 70%. And then after a while, it's been out, it's been out for over a year now, so I dropped the price down, and that's why I went back to the 35%. And you can pick the price that is within the range Amazon will let you. I just like the number 1, 2, 3, so that's why I put 1, 2, 3. The rest of these ones will automatically calculate for you for the other markets around the world, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, normally I would hit, and if I was done, I would hit publish or ebook, but I didn't actually change anything, so I'm not going to save this. Go back to the main page. All right, so that was a little bit about pricing. The other thing for the physical book, the royalty rates are pretty much the same. The main difference with the physical book, there's not the options for the royalties, but there is this expanded distribution, which you can select if you want to. What this does, one, again, you'll have a minimum price that you'll have to do that, but that makes it available to other external sellers. So by putting expanded distribution, my book is for sale on barnesandnoble.com and some of these other booksellers, and it's available out there that it can be ordered. Personally, I don't know if I've actually sold any through the expanded distribution, but I like the idea of it's at least available in more markets, should it start to take off and other people can find it. If you don't do the expanded distribution, then you can sell it for a little lower price. And then this printing price is, you can order author's copies, like if you're going to one of our book readings or something, or book signings, you can order the price at this printing price plus shipment and handling. So it costs more than that, but it's about, this one would be about $4.50 a copy plus shipping. All right. Any questions so far? So the next piece I'm going to go to is the actual marketing resources in KDP. And that's, again, coming from the same page. You've got your marketing page. KDP Select is basically whether or not it's going to be available in Kindle Unlimited. And Kindle Unlimited is, if you're not aware of it, people pay a certain price, and I don't know what it is, a monthly value, and then they can read any Kindle Unlimited book for free. And for every page of your book that they read, you get somewhere between 1/2 and 1/3 of a cent, depending on how many pages are being read and such. So it's usually somewhere in that range. That's actually where I'm getting most of my sales these days, is Kindle Unlimited people going and just reading pages. So I think it's a good thing to do. But again, it may or may not be what you want. Amazon ads, will come back to that, and I'll go into a lot of detail. I'll actually show you how I would set up an ad campaign and such, and some of the things with that. Author Central, I'll come back to that also in just a second. Other things sort of like Kindle Unlimited is nominating your ebooks for, and these are ones that you're saying Kindle deals, you're allowing Amazon to do limited time discounts on your book. And Prime Reading is where they will let people who aren't on Kindle Unlimited but are just Amazon Prime customers read your book for free. The benefit of these is they're both sort of pushed, but Amazon will actually do some of that marketing for that book because now they're the ones who are driving it. I think with Prime Reading, they generally will pay you something up front. I don't know the exact details. I've never gotten mine picked up by either of these, but I always nominate them. I figure it's not going to hurt. I'm out there not trying to get rich on this. I'm just trying to get my book in front of other people's eyeballs. With Prime Reading, I think they will pay you something up front. So they might say, okay, we're gonna make it free for the next month, and we'll pay you $100 for making it free for the next month, or whatever it is. And if you're a very popular writer, it's probably gonna be more, and if it's a less popular, it'll be less, and it's only the ones they pick up. So those are some of the other ways of getting eyeballs in your book. Price promotions, we'll go through this in a little more detail in a little bit, but there's two types. But the main thing to be understand with a price promotion is Amazon will do nothing for you for this, other than change the price on the website. So a Kindle countdown deal is where, say your book is $5 and you say, I want a countdown deal from Monday through Friday. And Monday it'll be $1 for that book. Tuesday, $2, Wednesday, $3 until it gets back up to its full $5 price. That might be something that would be good if you had a good marketing out there and people paying attention to it. But if it's just that in and of itself, I tried one of those once and I got no sales because no one knew, they didn't know the difference between $1 and $5 and didn't know my book. The other one is a similar thing. It's a free book promotion. And this, over the course of a 90-day period, you can have your book absolutely free for the Kindle download for up to 5 days. And that can be 5 consecutive days, or it can be 5 separate days, one at a time. The one where this really helped my book is there was a company, and I'll talk about a little more, but they did a Terrify Your tablet where it was science fiction and horror stories. A company, a publisher, was gathering names of people who are willing to put their book out for free on Halloween. And they did a lot of publishing, and it became viral on various social media things. So a lot of people found out about it. And I did that free book promotion, and I got about 150, downloads. But that also then pumps up your book in the metrics in Amazon. So I got up on the bestseller list for some of these things on the hard science fiction and some of those. So those are some things that if you can piggyback on something, it's worth doing. I got that 150 downloads of free books. And then after that, for a while, I continued to get actual sales for a while after that, because my book was up there fairly high on the lists of things in those genres. So that's a good one. That was one of my most successful things. Let's see. Author Central. This is just where you can set up your author page, where you can set up certain things about who you are, what books you have. You can look about some things. You can also see the people. You can't see who is following you, but you can find out how many followers you have once you get over 20. And Amazon, if I'm putting out a new book, next month, Amazon will notify these people who are following me and go, hey, Matt's got a new book coming out next month. So I would, again, encourage you to set up an author page. It's free. Some of the things you also do on here, you have a profile. Let me just actually go to the actual author page so you can see what it looks like. This one? No, that's the same one. So this is my author page. It's got a little bit about me, what my books are. You can get it. And then I've recommended other books that I think people who would read my books might like, or actually books, that I like. And I don't know for sure, but I think there may be some ties to some of these back to what's going on. And you can also put in your books. Let me go back to that other page for a second. Where am I? I'm missing where I'm at. I'll come back to that later if I remember. But there are also things here where you can see how your book ranks in sales compared to other things and how it's, whether it's getting better or worse over time and so on. All right, I think that's enough. Go
Just
ahead.
to have a question or a thought. If, so I didn't realize this, we could, on Author Central, we can recommend other books that we like, and that could be any book, is that correct?
That is correct.
So if we, from a synergism standpoint, would recommend each other's books on our Author Central page, I mean, it can't hurt. It may not, they may not deliver anything, but it can't hurt.
Yeah, and that was another thing. Okay, so this is where creator book recommendations. So these are some of the ones I've done where they'll give you a question like, what's a similar book readers would like? What's a book you couldn't put down, and so on. And then you can put in, I think they're up to 5 other books. But yeah, it might be something to tie into some of the others, you know, other people in the OLLI or other authors, you know. The other one I did want to mention about the author page, now that you mention it, of other authors, is if you come down here, customers who also bought items by, so people who have bought my book or download it for free, these are some of the authors that they also bought. When we get to Amazon ads, one of the things that I put in my ads is author's name. So when someone searches for Teresa Jacobs, they might also see my book as an ad underneath there. So this would be, some of these customers also bought items by might be a good source for some of your ad keywords. And again, I'll get to that in more detail in a little bit. Okay, so Amazon author page. You need $20 before you get any. You can put in those book recommendations. There's things like sales rankings and stuff. Again, that customer also bought items by could be a good source for future ad keywords. And then before, I'm going to pause for just a second. I'm going to go in a detail of how we would do an Amazon ad campaign. Is there any questions or things before I get into that one?
Apparently not.
All right, no problem. Actually, why don't I just do a custom ad campaign? Let me do this. All right. So again, ads start with the marketing area. I'm going to do Amazon ads. I'm going to use Amazon.com. I've never done ads for any of the other countries. I have had sales in the UK and Germany and Canada and Australia, but I think those were probably picked up through Amazon.com. So I'm going to go to the ads console. As you can see here, I've got a whole bunch of ad campaigns. Most of them are inactive. If this thing is clicked, it's not running right now. Some of these I've been playing with the last few days. So looking at here, this one is one that I've been running all month. I'm never going to spend more than $1.50 a day on this. I've had over 17,000 times where this ad has appeared in search results. That doesn't mean people actually looked at it, but it was in the search results somewhere. Top of search IS, that means it's somewhere near the top of the page, and there's more likely that someone actually saw that. And then of those 17,000, 6 people have actually clicked on the book, and that's cost me $1.83 so far this month. And another one person actually bought a book, which brought in less than that. So
So,
And I'm gonna be honest with you, I haven't made money on ads, at least directly. One of the things is you don't know for sure if they click on an ad and then immediately buy the book, it says it was related to that ad and it will show up in this level. So I got a $1.23 in sales. So someone bought a Kindle book. What they don't really tell you is even if this was $2 in sales, I'm only getting 35 cents on the dollar. So this is really about 40 cents that I spent $1.83 to make 40 cents. But I still think there's value in putting ads out. If you don't go crazy on it, because it does keep sort of puts your book out there. All right, so let's go about how do we actually create a campaign. So if I want to create a new ad, I hit create campaign. Briefly, the lock screen ads are things in Kindle where when somebody has their Kindle up and their screen is locked, they show an ad. I tried these once and I was never willing to pay enough to actually get onto it where an ad actually was presented. And when I did some Googling around about it, people said it wasn't very cost effective. They didn't get sales. They spent a lot of money for not getting sales. So I don't do lock screen ads. Like I said, I tried it a little bit, but I didn't do that. I don't do that now. The sponsored products is the one where you're going to do most of the time. So I'm going to click that one. You've got your custom text ad or standard ad. Custom text is what I always use. That's where we're going to put in our own advertising copy, for want of a better term. And I want to do it for both these books, for both the Kindle and the paperback. Automatic targeting, Kindle's or Amazon's going to come up with the keywords and stuff that they want to use. They think they want to use. I always do manual. I want to have control over it. Someone might have, I don't know how automatic would work, but I don't trust. I have a feeling that automatic is geared to make Jeff Bezos money, not me. So manual targeting, keyword targeting, and then we come down here for the keywords. One of the biggest things to be aware of is there's suggested bid, custom bid, and default bid. I haven't seen this before. I guess they're coming up with some pricing for Prime Day. So I may add one of those. But what I would always do is I start really small, really low on these ads. I never use the suggested bid. Every time I've seen it, I think the suggested bids, they'll probably get you a lot of ads and a lot of clicks and not necessarily much sale, and you're burning through money. So I always start something, really small. 10 cents might be a little low, but, and then my default bid, I'm also going to say is 10 cents for right now. The other thing to be aware of is I think you can have up to 500 keywords in a single ad. But if you use broad, phrase, and exact, for one keyword, that is 3 keywords in your ad. So if you wanted, had 200 keywords you wanted to use, and you wanted to use all 3 of those categories or filter bys, you'd have to split into 2 campaigns. But I always use all 3. I think broad is sort of looking for things that are kind of like that word. Phrase is where that word appears somewhere in the phrase, and exact means I want to see when they search for that particular thing and that particular thing only. That's my understanding. I might have that a little bit wrong, but so they suggested some keywords for me. I'm going to look through some of these, and I'll add a couple. I'll add book bestsellers. I'll add my book. Yeah, that's a good one because that's my thing. Science fiction books. And let's see, maybe sci-fi books. Now, if I look at these and I go, I really know science fiction books, they're suggesting $1. 10 cents might be a little low, and I know that's one I really want to stress. I'm going to change this to 21 cents. Now, what I did here, I did that on purpose. Be careful when you hit it in, because I accidentally changed it to $21 instead of 21 cents. So be careful a little bit. I've done that more than once. Oops.
What does that mean?
So what does the 21 cents mean?
Yeah,
So what that means is these are keywords that when someone searches for it, they may present your advertisement on. So some searches for sci-fi books. If my bid at 10 cents is enough that it's going to get, if there's 1,000 people who've all put in sci-fi books for their ad, my 10 cents may not even get on the list. But at some point, it'll get up on the list and be presented. If someone clicks on it, then they're going to charge me that 10 cents, or in this case, 21 cents. If no one clicks on it, it doesn't cost you anything. So when we went back over here to this has been presented impressions over 17,000 times, but I've only been charged for those 6 clicks. So let's see, let's go back to where we were. Okay, so I put in some things here. These are suggested words, but I can also say enter a list of words. So one of the things, it's a science fiction book. Heinlein is one of my favorite authors, and I think, you know, Michael Crichton is another one, and maybe Isaac Asimov. So I can add those things. Again, I've got them all 3 selected, so that's going to be 9 more. Right now they're at 10 cents a piece, but again, I really like Heinlein. I think people who like Heinlein will like my book, so I'm going to do that one to 26 cents. And then, so you can go in here again. I would start low and then gradually work your way up. If there's something that you know is something you think is really good for your genre or your book, you might want to bump the price up. But I have never gone as high as their suggested bid. Maybe it would be worth doing it sometimes, but I never have. The last category over here is upload a file. This is where you can download an Excel spreadsheet, and you can pre-put in all of these keywords. If you have a bunch of them you want to figure out ahead of time, you want to craft some of your campaigns for different types of keywords for different things. That might be worth doing to make it easier. I have done that sometime, but I'm not going to bother with that one today. But
so Matt, for your book, what keywords would you or did you select?
I mean, some of these are ones that I selected that are showing up here.
Unfortunately, it's so small, we can't see them. We have a big screen here, but it's very difficult. Oh, there you go. Okay.
yeah.
That's
So I put in like authors' names and sci-fi books and my book and book bestseller, you know.
okay. So if I put in somebody else's book, the name of somebody else's book, how does that get to me?
So what would happen is here, let me see. Where is that? Where is that? Okay, so say someone searched for Plastivore. If you scroll down here, customers who viewed it also viewed this. If you look down here, this products related to this item where it says sponsored.
Yeah.
These are ads that someone put in, that maybe someone put in Plastivore in their keywords, or they put in something similar to some of the keywords that were mine. And so these are ads that other people have paid for.
I see. Oh, okay. Because I've seen this on our pages.
Yeah. So where you see sponsored, that's where people have paid for those ads. If you see things like this one might not be, this one's not sponsored. So this one, they just popped up and said people who viewed it also viewed this. So this is one of the things that I would do with this one is go, okay, Daniel Kraus is probably a good one to put in my keywords because people who viewed it have viewed mine. So I'm going to go back over to, where was I? To this one, I'm going to add Daniel Kraus and Whale Fall. I think that was the name. And we'll add those as well. For now, I'm not going to worry about changing the bids on it, but. All right, now I come down farther, negative keyword. Any other questions on the bidding and the keywords? All right, again, one thing is be careful how much you do. Don't accidentally put in more than you're willing to spend. This is the custom text. You only have 150 characters, so you can't write a novel about your novel. So I'm just going to say, what would happen if, or what would you do if all the plastic around you started to dissolve? Find out in class. All right. So I'm not saying that's the right ad. Again, might be another topic to say what would be a good custom text that will do a hook, but that's what I'll do for now. All right, coming down here, bidding strategies. This is one. Dynamic bids up and downs means Amazon can unilaterally raise the price. So if I bid, 50 cents on my ad for that keyword, they can unilaterally bump it up to as much as $1 or less, depending on how much how popular it is. I do not understand the point of that one, because if I wanted to go higher, I would go higher. Dynamic bids down only means if I bid 50 cents, but it's like a low time for the advertising and they're willing to let me have it for 40 cents, then that they may lower the price. So sometimes they'll put it up for less than the price I bid. And so I always use dynamic bids down only. Fixed bid says I want to spend 50 cents every time, no matter what. If someone clicks on it. Now down here, the top of the search page, this is something that I think is worth doing. Where what this is I'm willing to spend 50 cents for an ad, but if you can get me at the top of the page where someone can be a lot more likely to see it, I'll go up to 25% more than that, or let's go 20% more. So if with 50 cents, I'm willing to spend that extra 10 cents. I don't understand the rest of the search. To me, that's just a normal ad, so I don't usually do anything on that. And I'm not sure what the product pages are. I don't think that necessarily applies so much to books, but so I always use that top of search. I'm willing to spend a little more. I put a low price on my keyword, but I'm willing to spend more than that if you'll get me at the top of the search. And remember, that's to every keyword. So if you have some of your keywords in there for 10 cents, a 20% increase is 12 cents. That's not a big deal. But if you have $1, it goes up to $1.20 or whatever it is. So just keep that in mind. Campaign name, this can be pretty much whatever you name, but one of the things I would suggest is make it meaningful to you. One of the things that I would suggest you try is running multiple campaigns with different keywords or different ad texts or something to see which ones work and which ones don't. And by putting a meaningful name in there, you can then go, okay, this ad is working better than that ad, and so on. For now, I'll just say OLLI sample campaign. What's today? 6/27/4. I'm going to make it active already. It's going to start immediately or today. And then there's the daily budget. So this is another one to make sure you don't go spend more than you can afford. Put in a small daily budget. I'm going to say, $1.50. So with that, if people keep clicking and keep clicking and keep clicking, it gets up to $1.50, then they'll stop running the ads. and you don't get charged anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this campaign. Let's see if I go refresh on this, will it show up immediately? Yeah, so I have this Ollie. Why is it saying incomplete? I think it's just, it hasn't actually come in. So this one should start taking off. Maybe at the end of the thing, we'll come back and see if we got any action on the Ollie sample campaign. What, one product and target? Let me see this. I wonder, I'm not sure if it's. Trying to see what did I do something wrong there, or is it just not worked its way through? Oh, okay, it's pending review, so someone has to look at it, make sure I didn't do a naughty book or something. So we'll see if it should come back and start running reasonably soon, sometime today. Maybe it'll be up by the time we finish this or not, so. Again, we had the custom text ad. We added the books. Manual targeting, keyword targeting. Keeping that default bid low. You might want to go more than 10 cents, but again, keep an eye on what you're spending and what you're willing to spend. Whatever your custom text is going to be. Top of the search, dynamic bids down only seems to be what I think makes sense. And then I think it is worthwhile to spend a little more for the top of the search, and how much more will be up to you depending on what's working and what's not. Keeping a meaningful name so you know what you're doing. And then especially you can run experiments in there of different types of campaigns to see what works and what doesn't. And start your daily budget low. I rarely have spent more than $1 in a day on any of my campaigns. Now, you may want to go a little higher than that, you may not, but anyway. Some other things to think about with the Amazon ads. One of the things, you only get charged when someone clicks, but you get charged every time someone clicks. So if you put in keywords that aren't really that are enticing but not really related to your book, and you get people to click on it and they look at your book and they don't buy it, you're getting charged. So try to make sure it's something that's relevant. The other thing, because you get charged anytime someone clicks. Well, here, I'll come back to that in a second. So don't use the suggested bid unless it's for some reason you think that keyword is just great, then maybe it makes sense. Set the default bid very low and then adjust as needed for your particular keywords. Be careful using the custom bid. And sometimes I think it's grabbed the suggested bid when I tried to do a custom bid. This last time it didn't do this, so this may not be applicable anymore. But still be careful when you're doing your bids or you're changing it, you're actually changing it to what you think you are. That broad versus phrase versus exact, again, each one of those is a separate keyword towards your 500. So if you're going to do a whole lot of them, you may need to do multiple campaigns. And then I would suggest you create a list of keywords to either to copy in or upload, either in that template that I talked about, or even just in like a Word document or something. So you can kind of figure out what are those words you want to use, and so on. And then what those words are, any categories or other words that relate to your book. So mine was a science fiction book. It had something to do with the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. Maybe I should have put that in there. There was sailing, that, you know, so there may be multiple categories and things you want to put in. Other things to think about is the popular authors and titles in your genre. So mine is sort of Michael Crichton-esque, but it's another thing you might do, let me see, would be to come over here to just Amazon Books and go, all right, what's happening in science fiction books? And I go, okay, again, if you look at these, here's people who paid money to get them in. They're sponsored, but Blake Crouch's Dark Matter is up there top. So I might do Blake Crouch and Dark Matter. That's a well-known author. Or Andy Weir is another well-known science fiction author. So I might look here and say, where are some of these bigger names in my genre? Yes, Stephen?
Hi, are we looking at ads right now? The picture of the book, like you typed in a phrase for your book, but I don't see where that goes exactly. You talked about what would happen if plastics dissolve,
Yeah.
but I don't see any necessarily phrases in these. Are these do these qualify as a
Well,
representation of the book?
if it says sponsored, someone's paying for it when you click on it.
Okay, but it looks
Yeah,
like
right here, products related to this item, this would be what that ad
Okay.
verbiage was.
all right. I understand.
And I'm not, so again, when I'm looking for keywords, there's a few things I'm going to look at. One is the popular authors and popular titles. So I might do Blake Crouch, and I might put Dark Matter, and I might put Recursion, and I might do Andy Weir. But also another thing I look at is who's paying a lot of money to get their things up on the screen. So I look at C.E. Bradley. He has no reviews on this book yet, but he's one of the top ones up there, which tells me he paid a lot of money to get his ad up here. So I might put a C.E. Bradley and the Evangeline forecast into my keywords. Not that it's going to come up here, but someone might click on this, and then when they click on that, my ad is associated with somebody who is less likely to have a bunch of ads about them. Now, the other thing, this is just being polite. I try not to click on an ad unless I'm really interested in purchasing that book. Because if I click on this, C.E. Bradley is going to get charged however much he said he was going to pay for that ad. And that's money's going to Jeff Bezos. It's not going to C.E. Bradley if I'm not buying a book. So if I really wanted to see that book, this is just me personally, because I'm Evangeline forecast. So now I would go here. This one, as you see, I searched directly for it. This is not sponsored because it found it directly. If I click on this, now if I had used that as a ad copy, then I might be showing up somewhere down in here as one of these similar products or products related to this item. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when I'm going for keywords, that's one of the things I would do is the things like, you know, your category, your genre and some of that, but also popular artists. And then also consider some of those less popular artists that come up that have paid for their own ads. So you can kind of piggyback on their ad and maybe get your book some visibility for a lot less price than if I'm trying to get an ad at the top of Michael Crichton's page. it's gonna cost me a lot more than it would for whatever that guy's name was, CE whatever, to get it up at the top of the page. And then again, to be nice, don't click on people's ads unless you're really interested in their book, because that's just giving money to Jeff Bezos, and he's got plenty. And it's taking money from some of these independent artists. So keep the bids low and so on. I'm saying that again, avoid clicking on people's ads if you're not interested. Run multiple campaigns. Again, usually it's not a lot of money if you keep your costs down. If you look at it and you have a keyword that you know is really good and you're not getting impressions and you're not getting clicks, you might think about bumping the price up, but start low and then work your way up. Don't start with their suggested and then come down, or you're going to spend a lot more than you want to. And then watch your spend and be willing to stop or inactivate your campaigns. And it's really easy to inactivate a campaign. Let me go. I'm going to get back to the main page. So I'm running these campaigns. This is just an FYI. Mine, I created, this one was big titles. So what I did is those were major authors or titles that have got a lot of sales, as opposed to small authors, which are some of those things like I picked up on people who farther down the search results add. So again, use what's there. But if I decide I don't want small authors to be running anymore, I just didn't activate it, and that's paused. I'm not going to get any more ads delivered, and I'm not going to get cost anymore. So pay attention to your spend. If it's starting to get more than you're willing to spend, pause or stop your campaigns for a while. One of the things, this is my rule of thumb. I'm not saying it's a good rule of thumb. I'm not saying it's what you should do, but I refuse to spend more in a month than I have already brought in royalties. So if I bring, I will start a campaign and I've made $5 in royalties, and then I get to $6 in ad campaign, I'll stop my campaigns for a while until somebody else has bought something. That's just me. I'm cheap and I don't like to spend money. So you don't have to use that method, but that's kind of, I didn't start doing ads till I'd gotten some money built up, ahead. And then I started saying, I'm never going to spend more than I've gotten royalties. And I've kept that up through, I'm probably about $150 ahead total on this book, which not very much dollars per hour, but the other thing with ads, again, from direct purchases, they only register if someone searches on it, sees it, clicks it, and then immediately purchases it. I think some of those ads also lead to people like reading on Kindle Unlimited. They go, oh, this looks like a book, I'll read it on Kindle Unlimited. Or they may come back later and search for it and purchase it. So I think ads are more effective than you see directly on the screen. But there's no way to tie those other sales back to it. So I like having my name out there. So I do continue to run ads, although I've done less over time, okay, that's just an example of some of them. Any questions there before we get over to
Yeah, are you available to sit next to us as we do this?
sure, if I'm around.
Okay. I'd like to know how Amazon's new pre-publishing platform, Kindle Vella, how it could help authors before they publish. Do you know anything about their new platform, Kindle Vella?
I have seen it, but I haven't really looked at it. As I understand, that's something where you can post like a episode per month or something over time, or a chapter per month over time. I have not used that personally. One of the things, I'm more of a seat of your pants type author, so I I have an idea of where my book's going, but when I'm writing it, it sometimes goes in different directions and I'm gonna have to rework those earlier chapters a lot. So I haven't done Kindle Bella, but
I posted a few episodes of a book I'm editing for my using my son's information, his writing. And you could like it, you can vote for it, you can ask questions about it. It's a way of getting feedback, from what I could tell, on your book, kind of predicting how well it will sell before you actually publish it.
okay, yeah. I'm
And-
not, again, I know of it, but I'm not really familiar with it. So it sounds like you've done more than I have.
Okay. I'm experimenting with it. From what I've read, it was started because they find people are buying books and they're not finishing reading them. You know, they're trying to figure out a way of putting it together in episodes like television does, with small episodes to keep people's interest. And you'll know after you publish an episode or two how interested people are. That's all.
Yeah. No, it sounds interesting. Any other thoughts or questions on Amazon ads?
So how many ads are you running at the present time? It looks like 3 or so.
Yeah, well, right now I've got those two. And it looks like this one's not delivering yet, the one I just did. I've done sometimes where I've done, 4, 5, 6 at a time. Again, keeping this daily budget low. So if I have 5 or 6 at $1 or $2 each, theoretically that could add up. But
Yeah,
again, it only adds up when, I hate this interface, when people click. So yeah, I went too far. This interface is not the best. So I'm an IT guy. So I've had 17,000 impressions where it's been displayed somewhere, whether or not they saw it, only 6 clicks. So over the course of a month, I spent $1.83 on that ad. It's not, so it's, but then this one, I've got, another 26 cents. So right now I've got 2 running, and I've got several that I've run in the past. I can't
have
tell
a
you
question.
exactly what's the right mix.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Did I understand you correctly? Instead of bidding 10 cents, let's say you bid 40 cents. Bidding 40 cents is more likely to get your book up on a sponsored ad, people seeing it, than if you bid 10 cents.
Right.
So wouldn't it actually make more sense to do one ad and put your resources in it and get it seen, rather than being at the bottom of the barrel all the time?
I'm just telling you what I've done, but it's not the ad, it's the keyword that you're putting the price on. So if you have a certain keywords that you think are a lot more valuable, yeah, bump the price up on those somewhat. So I'm not saying 10 cents is the right value, but I'm saying you get more. You don't have to spend, $1 a click or something to get your ad seen.
Okay, now I have another question, sorry.
Okay.
So if you have 500 keywords
Yeah.
and you're setting your bid at 10 cents, is it 10 cents for every one of those 500 keywords?
Well, again, you can set a different value for each of the keywords. So if I put 10 cents on science fiction books and I put 50 cents on Robert Heinlein, someone searches for Robert Heinlein and they say that's coming up in the list, that's going to be a 50 cents if they click on it. If someone searched for science fiction books and I had said 10 cents and that came up in their search, and they clicked on it, then they're charging me 10 cents.
Ah, okay, I get it. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions?
You have a certain set amount of time you devote to marketing your book. Do you do something for marketing like every day or every week? Because you're very dedicated.
I mean, yes and no. I usually go in and click in and just look and see once a day to see how much I've spent. And if things have sold about once a day. But that's just me. If you have a low daily maximum, and I'm going to say if you had $1 a day for your ads, it's the maximum, and you're willing to spend $7, come in once a week and look at it and see what's happening, because you're not going to get blown out. But I'm weird, so I come in and I glance at it almost every morning, just take a quick look and see what's happening. See if anything's sold and stuff, but again, that's me.
Okay,
All right, so that was the Amazon side of the story. These are some other strategies that I've used also. So there is other advertising, there's social media. You can have your book or your author website. You can do press releases, just other things to get your name recognized, and then any other ideas. So we'll go through these. Other advertising that I have used, Facebook. I've tried Facebook advertising. Facebook ads are different than Amazon. Amazon doesn't charge you until someone clicks on your ad. Facebook charges you as soon as they're in the feed. So those I found added up money really quickly and didn't get significant results. So, other folks may have different experiences, but the true Facebook ads I found were not cost effective. Now, there are Facebook groups where there's local groups, like there's a Welcome to Fullerton where people can advertise their services and products, or Orange County, Los Angeles buy, sell, trade. And there's several of these that are sort of local groups. Those are absolutely free. So I put ads in there occasionally where I'll say, local Fullerton author book, in the Welcome to Fullerton or something. Again, I don't know if I've got a lot of response from that, but it's free. So I'm willing to take the time to occasionally put one of those ads out. I'm sure there's other advertising that's out there on other sites. I know you could do YouTube ads and other things. I haven't used those. So I've done most of my stuff in Amazon, but if other folks have experience with ads elsewhere that worked or didn't work, any thoughts on those?
I've heard that people are, say on Facebook or any place where they have a list of friends, people who can see what they posted, that they are offering to sell these lists of their friends to authors and other people who want to promote a product. Have you heard of that happening?
Okay. Actually, as I get to social media, that's something I do want to point out. With social media, with Facebook, whether that's an ad or you're doing on some of the groups, and I'm going to go through some, be very careful, because as soon as you post something that says, I have a book that I've written, prepare to get messages and questions and people going, oh, I can help you. I just block everyone who tries to sell me something on Facebook. I may have blocked some legitimate folks, but there's so many scammers out there who are trying to get you to, I will promote your book for, whatever. I don't do any of those. I'm, again, I might be able to get better response if I did some of those, but I'm not going to pay anyone to promote my book that just message me on Facebook. So any of these social media, be prepared to be spammed. If you say you're an author out on social media, they will try to get to sell you stuff. And I don't buy anything from those folks. Again, there may be some legitimate ones that I've missed. In fact, I've gone on my page periodically saying, sorry if you're legitimate, but I'm not don't deal with this. So on Facebook, one of the things to consider is creating an author page. So I have my main Facebook profile where I talk with my family, you know, political posts or whatever. And you can create a separate page for yourself as an author. And so I've just done this recently in the last couple of weeks, so I'm not as expert on it, but that way I can do all my book related posts as Matt Truxaw author, as opposed to Matt Truxaw. I can keep the personal side of me away from the author and the books. But if you're going to go on social media, and my main one is Facebook, just because I've been on it forever. But the same thing I think would apply to YouTube or TikTok or any of those, is look for groups and pages that relate to your book or your genre. So if you write science fiction books, look for the science fiction related groups. If you're romance, look for those, or maybe just the generic book readers, because some people read every genre. But so like I said, I do in writing, reading, and science fiction groups. Don't spam the group. Don't sit there and just post things about your book, about your book, about your book. You're just going to annoy people. You're going to get blocked, and they're not going to want it. Doesn't mean you can't occasionally post about your book, but don't spam the group. And obey any group rules or guidelines. There are things that some groups say you cannot do any promotions, or some will say you can only promote your book on Mondays or whatever it is, and obey those rules. Again, if you're annoying people, it's not going to help your brand. And then one of the most important things is to add value to whatever group that is. Don't just sit there and talk about your book, but contribute regularly. Like almost every book I read, I do a book review of on my personal blog, largely so I can remember what the book that I read the book. But I would post some of those on some of these things. And in fact, I was posting a lot of science fiction related books, and amazingstories.com contacted me and said, hey, why don't you post these on our site? They don't pay me anything, but it gives me some more name recognition, which we'll get to in a little bit. So again, if you're doing links to your book, make sure they're relevant to whatever the question or thing that was, and don't overdo it. I use Facebook and LinkedIn. I don't do a lot on LinkedIn because that's mainly business related, but I do occasionally, since I have a lot of followers on there or people I've linked to over the years of being in business, that I'll put stuff out there. Hey, I got a book, and I've got a few sales through that. And then other things like Goodreads, where you can do book reviews, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat. I haven't used these. I'm not saying they're not good. It's just I haven't gotten around to it.
I've had some good sale, not good, good is way overstating. I've had some results on Goodreads and on Twitter.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Twitter,
another one,
especially
or
if you
X.
want to give something away as a lead, hoping they'll move to something else. I've had some good luck with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not saying, I think all of those things are great. Again, be careful when you do things, that be prepared to get inundated by people offering you all sorts of services that you'll make your book a bestseller and stuff. But as long as you're aware of that and can make sure you're not falling for a bunch of garbage, then I think all these things at least get your name out there more and can increase sales. I have seen people highly recommend that you have an author and or book website, mattruxaw.com or something. I haven't done that one. I do have that personal blog where I do book reviews, and I have that Amazon author page, and I have the Facebook, Matt Truxaw author page, but I haven't done a specific website. That I might get to that at some point, but I haven't bothered with that yet. Press releases or articles. This is another one I haven't really tried, but we actually, some of us were in the writing with feedback class. We're going over, someone had written a children's book, and we're trying to get an article done in the Fullerton Observer about it. And I think some of those types of things are certainly worth trying, to go into the local papers or maybe other book related sites and publishing, see if they'll publish either a small press release about it or even a full article. So again, I haven't done that myself, but I think that's a great idea as another way you could maybe get your face out there and get people's eyeballs on your books.
There's also a part of the Orange County Register every week has a section just on Cal State Fullerton. And they're willing, if you have a Cal State Fullerton connection. For instance, the editor of one of my first children's books was on the faculty of Cal State Fullerton. And they did an article about the two of us when that book came out. So
Yeah, no, I think any of those things where you can get something and get your name out there is positive, which and so if you know those types of things, or you know people who know those things, those are great ideas. So I don't know all of this. I'm not an expert at this stuff. I've just been myself played through things. So other things on name recognition, again, that social media being just putting things out and creating value for the groups and stuff gets your name recognized a little more. And then creating that value in the community, whether that's an online community like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, or maybe it's something like participating in OLLI or other community things. I mentioned briefly that I was doing book reviews, and amazingstories.com said, hey, why don't you post them on our site? So every week I post a book review or other review out on Amazing Stories. And these are mostly science fiction or science or some of the fantasy books. I'm not a big fantasy fan, but there's a few in there. But if you're a science fiction fan or science fan, this is a really nice site. It's free. You don't have to register on it to go and see anything, but if you do register, it allows you to make comments and stuff. So if you're interested in science fiction, amazingstories.com is fun. And again, that was one where they said, hey, and let me go back to that. Just one of the things that they did do with that is, so if I review a book, they're not paying me to review this book, but at the bottom of every book, I have a little ad for my own book. And I suspect that's led to some sales, but again, I don't know. I don't have any algorithm that says when they click on it to let me know. But this is basically a free ad because I've got my name out there.
I've gone at a couple of the craft fairs that I've gone to that there have been a couple of authors who rented a booth and had their book for sale. I don't know how well they did, but at least people were seeing their book.
Yeah. Yeah, those are tight. Another one, this one here isn't going to get you any sales probably, but I just think this site is so much fun. Literaturemap.com. You can go and enter people have entered authors they like, and they put in multiple authors they like, and then it ties people who like one author, some of the people that they like. And then you can go, okay, Matt Truxaw liked D.T. Suzuki. And then you come up here and go, oh, if you like D.T. Suzuki, you might like Richard Hofstadter. If you like Richard Hofstadter, you might like Charles Murray. It's just a fun site, honestly. And you can come over here and you can enter your own preferences, authors that you like. So if you're looking for someone, you go, I wanted to know someone like Ben Shapiro. People who like Ben Shapiro, what else do they look? You can go and look and see what are some of the other folks that people liked. So again, that's probably not going to get you a lot of sales, but I just love that site. So if you like books, it's just a lot of fun to click around and see where it leads. Other ideas. One of the big things that this is sort of back to Amazon, but regardless of where it is ask for reviews. Reviews, the number of reviews on your book is one of the key things in the algorithm that makes it come up in the search results for Amazon. So don't be shy about asking for honest reviews. If you go and pay for reviews or you're asking for only, 5-star reviews and Amazon finds out about it, they'll trash your book. They'll do bad things. So don't ask, people to lie or anything, but ask for honest reviews. And some of the places on your website or your author page, if you're talking about it, occasionally on your social media posts, if there's something relevant about your book, ask people, if someone posts about your book especially, then say, hey, can you put in a review? One of the first things I did is when I first published my book, I sent anything out to my family and friends saying, hey, I've written a book, and several people bought it. And then a while later, I went back and said, hey, thanks for buying my book. If you bought it, if not, if you did, please put in a review. And if you didn't, there's still time. So asking for reviews. And then this is one I saw that I didn't think about until after I published it. But in your book itself, and I went and changed my Kindle. So at the very end, when you're going through the acknowledgments and things, I put a little line at the end, and thanks to the readers for reading this book. If you don't mind, put in a review. So asking for those reviews is the best way to get them. I mentioned before those free or low price book days. The two that I know of is the Terrify Your Tablet was a Halloween promotion that I participated in last year. I think they're going to do it again this year. And this is one where this Horrorsmith Publishing gathered the authors, helped do the publishing, and it became a viral thing where a lot of people found out about it, and there was a lot of downloads. Another similar one, I think this was what did I do? This was actually preceded it was a Stuff Your Kindle. This was originally for romance titles, but now it has other genres. So if you go to the Stuff Your Kindle, they've got these days coming up. And if you click on here, you can find out. They had one just a few days ago, a week ago. But they have more coming up. So if you have a dark romance book or dark fantasy or just a romance book or mystery books or I don't know what, paranormal, witchy, they have these things coming up. And if you're trying to get readership, these are really good ways because there's somebody else helping promote. And yeah, you're not going to get a lot of money if you're doing a free book, but you're going to get a lot of eyeballs, and that helps lead to more book sales in the.
So how do you use this now? If we go to, let's say, the mystery book, July 25th, what?
There'll be something in here. I don't know exactly. I haven't done for the Terrify Your Tablet.
Okay.
Thing where you had to send in they had a thing for authors to put in you put in your name, your book title and a link to it and a little description.
Okay.
So I'm not really familiar with the Stuff Your Kindle, except for the way I am familiar with it is on some of the generic book groups I've been on. I've seen people very excited about, oh, the Stuff Your Kindle Day is coming up, and people downloading a lot of stuff. So those, I know there's probably others like that, but that's where you can, if me personally trying to get in touch with thousands of people online is not really productive, but if there's someone who's handling that promotion, it can help a lot. So again, that's probably the one that worked the best for me overall. Other things, just book signings like we did at the library, that gets your name out there a little bit, depends on where it is, or other genre related events. So if maybe it's worth going to a science fiction convention and talking to people about your book. And actually, I'll talk about this one in just a second. One of the things I have tried and it hasn't worked so far is looking for influencers online. So I've looked up like on YouTube where there's people who put out best science fiction books of the year or independent science fiction. And if you can find their email address, you can buy them a Kindle and send it to their email address. Now, when you do that, there's no guarantee they're going to actually download the book. In fact, I've done it 2 or 3 times and no one has ever downloaded the book. But I think it's either like 60 or 90 days. They have 60 or 90 days to download it. And you can look on your Amazon digital orders. And if they haven't purchased it, you know, about 2 or 3 days or a week before that 60 or 90 days is up, if they haven't purchased it, I'll say, you know, cancel the order. And then I get my, you know, $1.23 back. So it may be worth trying. Again, it hasn't worked for me, but that's something that I thought might be, you know, if you're a mystery book writer and there's someone who does mystery book reviews online or something to think about. And then giveaway with book links. The one I used when we had that thing at the library is I created bookmarks. So this was the front of the bookmark, and this was the back of the bookmark. So in this one, this is my novel, and this QR code goes directly to the book on Amazon, whereas this one goes to my Amazon authors page, so that if I get more books out there, they'll all appear. And then this one was going to my that page I showed you where all my reviews on amazing stories where people can go and look at stuff.
But how do you get those whatever, the little squares?
How do you get there? I can show you how to do QR codes.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I did is I just found a free site where it would do it, and then I did a screen capture of the QR code and pasted it into my image. But there's lots of different places where you can do.
Yeah.
Basically, you put in the URL that you want in that site, and then it'll create the QR code for you, and then you just can grab an image of it.
Yeah, when we were at the Festival of Books by LA Times last April, there were the stores quite often would have the QR code. They'd have a little bookmark with that QR code, and with every book that they were displaying, its QR codes have become a real big element on directing people to your location. And in fact, you can even make QR codes that take you to where to pay for a book if you were going to pay for a book on site. I've used that. It works quite well.
Yeah. So what I don't know if this is legitimate, so I'll say I have heard that somebody's I ordered 100 bookmarks because that was just the sort of the amount to get when we were doing the thing at the library. And I probably gave away 15 or 20 at the library, and I had a bunch left over. I don't know how this happened, but like in Barnes and Noble, some of the science fiction books got free bookmarks stuck in them. And at the library, some science fiction books got free bookmarks stuck in them. I don't know if that led to any sales, but I think that's another, just if you're like had a bunch of bookmarks and you went to the book thing with the LA Times book festival, maybe you can hand some of those out, you know, just to people in the crowd or a science fiction thing. I don't know. I haven't done this a lot, but I'm just saying that that's another possibility. Those types of things. I'm not saying bookmarks is the best way to do it, but it seems like a good one for books because people who read books actually use bookmarks.
Yes, they do.
And that's kind of the end of my formal presentation. Any questions or comments or suggestions?
Yes.
This is an actual, this was a, what do they call it? Public source image from the CDC, I think, of an actual bacteria. And then I had my wife's help because she used to do digital imaging to colorize it and to make it the lime green, which fits the storyline.
Yeah, it really, but it's punchy.
And I think the key thing is start small and work your way up if you're actually getting results. And just seeing if this one, oh, it looks like our campaign is actually running, I think. Oh, no, not delivering yet.
No,
I'll let this one run for a while and maybe next week is 4th of July, so we won't be there next
right,
week. But maybe the week after I can report back on how well the
great.
sample ad did.
Any other questions from anybody?
I don't have a question, but thank you, Matt. I found that to be very informative, especially about the Kindle ads.
Yeah,
Thanks.
okay.
And-
And then just because I have to say it, if you do read my book, thank you. And if you do read it, put in a review.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
Thank you.